Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. A couple weeks ago I was at San Diego Comic-Con and I was just walking around kind of looking at all of the Star Wars stuff there. I made a full video of this if you want to check it out on the channel, but one of the booths that caught my eye right when I walked in was the Jazzwares booth, and I wasn't too familiar with this brand at all, but when I walked in they had all of these really cool vehicles on display, and I hadn't really seen these before, but I'm not really a vehicle collector, so I don't have any of the Hot Wheels or any of that stuff, so I kind of just felt like I had missed this, but I didn't realize that they hadn't actually even really come out yet until a few weeks after Comic-Con, and then I just started seeing them on everyone's stories on Instagram, and they are just so cool looking. They have these tiny little figures that come with them, and that's pretty much what sold me on buying these. So I got a few of these from Target and from Amazon, and I just wanted to give you guys a quick review of these. I'm not a vehicle expert, so I don't really have much to compare them to in terms of small scale vehicles, but hopefully you will enjoy watching anyway. This was definitely one of those situations in which I don't think that I'm going to be participating in a particular toy line, and then once I was in Target and I saw this, you know, it's hard to leave without something when you have it right in front of you. So I went ahead and left with the Darth Vader's TIE Advanced, and we will look at that one first. The other ones I did order on Amazon, and I will have affiliate links below. If you want to buy those, it will give me a little kickback from Amazon. It's the same price to you, and that always helps me out. And it also helps me justify irresponsible financial decisions, which is always fun. So let's go ahead and open this up. If you know my channel, you know that I usually open my Black Series figures in a way that I can easily repackage them if I ever choose to do so. That's not really an option with these smaller vehicles. I love this little Darth Vader. I love how he kind of comes in his own action figure box. I think they knew what they were doing here. They really want this to feel like you're getting a very tiny action figure. There is definitely some limitation to articulation and detail at this scale, at least for this price. I think this vehicle was under $20. He can sit like this, and then the cape is removable, which you will need to do in order to get him into the cockpit, and then his arms are one piece, but they are attached on a little swivel here, so you can kind of position him in his roller coaster position or just with his hands on the controls there. Let's get his cape back in and take a look at the vehicle itself. These were surprisingly tricky to get out of the package. I was trying to do it, you know, elegantly on camera, and that really wasn't an option. The wing popped off here, but they are designed to do that. It's actually one of the features that they show on the box. I don't think that's really a feature, but they are saying that it is. But first impressions are pretty good. There's not a lot of paint on this. The black marks on the side, or like the black panels on the side, are very well painted, and you know, this has a really nice clean finish, and it's a clean little mold here. But there's no wash on this the way that there is on some of the other vehicles that we will look at, and that is a very easy fix, but that just brings out a lot of the detail in the panels. I'll probably be adding a little black wash on this. You can open the cockpit from the top here, and it has a surprising amount of detail sculpted into the interior. It's kind of hard to see here just without zooming in, but you can see there's a good amount of detail in there. Let's go ahead and get him into the cockpit. So on the box, they show him going to the cockpit with his cape. So I'm just gonna see if that is possible. There's that cool feature of the wings popping off. Yeah, I don't think the cape's not gonna fit in there. So we'll go ahead and seat him down in there. That's what that looks like once he's in there. You can't really see him from the front, so there's really not much point to having him in there. I think this would look better just with him standing next to the vehicle on your shelf. On the back there is this little panel with some sculpted detail underneath. There's not a lot going on there though. Let's go ahead and move on to the next vehicle. We are gonna now look at the X-Wing, Luke Skywalker's X-Wing to be specific. Same type of packaging here. I think this is the same price as the TIE Fighter. Now right off the bat, I do notice that this does have a little bit of extra detail in the paint job. It just has that dark wash, which is a pretty easy way of painting, but it really does help the vehicle look like it has been lived in and just seen some stuff in the galaxy. It's got this little bit of landing gear here. The wings do open up, of course, into the classic X-Wing pose, I guess you would call it. And I learned something interesting from the Spectre Creative channel on YouTube, who I highly recommend if you are interested in the toy business or like the psychology of collecting and all of that stuff. But initially, the action figures that came out in the 70s for the original Star Wars film were just designed as a way to connect the customer to the vehicle. So like, let's say a child buys a vehicle toy, it's just a vehicle on their shelf, but once that little action figure, once that is placed into the cockpit, that is the avatar for the customer, and that is what makes them feel like it is their vehicle, and that creates an emotional connection to the vehicle that wouldn't exist if not for that figure. So from what I remember, that was kind of the original purpose of action figures, at least in the Star Wars line. Basically sort of as an accessory to the vehicle itself rather than its own thing. And I know that Hot Wheels and other vehicle lines are quite popular, but just from at least the people that I follow on social media, which is mostly action figure collectors, I've seen a lot of excitement about this toy line that I haven't seen for other vehicle lines, and I think it has to do with the fact that there are little figures that come with this, and it just creates that connection to the vehicle, and it also just makes it interactive. And it sounds like something that wouldn't be that important, but I feel like if I didn't put these figures into the cockpit in this video, I would have heard about it in the comments. Or even if the vehicles came with the figures already placed in the cockpit, even if they were removable, I think there's something really important about the owner of this toy being the one who puts the figure into the cockpit. Just a theory, just something that I've been thinking about while, messing around with these. But enough about that, let us jump into the big boy here, the Millennium Falcon. This one is gorgeous. This, I think, really got a lot of people excited. Between this and the Razor Crest, I think that this is kind of really what made this line successful, and it seems pretty successful from what I have seen so far. We see some more of the ships on the bottom here, including Boba Fett's starship, which I believe is a Walmart exclusive. I have not been able to track that down yet. I didn't see it on their website. The Falcon is the only one of these vehicles that I saw with an instruction sheet, and I think it's because it has some electronic elements, it has some light and sound features, and there's also probably a lot of legal jargon that needs to be included as well, so that might be why we have a full sheet of instructions. Looking at the vehicle itself, this is genuinely impressive. I love all of the paint detail, the amount of just like the dark wash, and just the amount of care that has gone into painting. This is really impressive. This is less than $50, or it might be $49.99 or something. I'm really blown away by how much they were able to squeeze into this little vehicle. Wait till you see the interior as well. With the landing gear, it sits just like this, and it has this little ramp that comes down. It might need a little messing with in order to get it to lay flat on the ground. Let's add some of the accessory pieces here that also came in the box. I'm not sure why these weren't attached in the package. There's definitely room for them, but maybe it just makes it look like there's extra accessories in the box. This does pull out, and it has a little gunner seat in here for one of your characters to sit. And then a feature that really surprised me that I didn't expect from looking at this at the convention or in the box was that there's an entire interior here to play around in. This would have driven me crazy as a kid. I would have been obsessed with this. It does have these little buttons here that we'll look at later. You can activate those from the top, and just the amount of little crates and stuff sculpted into here. There's not a ton of paint, but could be a nice little DIY project. This little grate here opens up this area down there in case you want to have some storage or some characters hanging out down there. And then, of course, the little classic Dejaric table with the rounded bench. Let's take a look at the other interior aspect of this, which is the cockpit. This has a nice level of sculpted detail. You can see that the wash is a little bit sloppily applied, but it's nice that it is there at all. They can only do so much with such a small vehicle, especially at the price point. This does have an electronic feature with some lights. Ooh. Wow, that's louder than I expected it to be. According to the packaging, it has a few different motion features, which is actually also really impressive. So depending on which angle you tilt this, it will make a different noise, whether you pitch up, pitch down, turn left, turn right. Let's go ahead and kill the lights here just to show you how bright this is. Let's go and take a look at the figures that come with this. Han Solo, Princess Leia, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Chewbacca. I had to use this little screwdriver to place these just because you need to spread their legs a little bit to straddle the gear that is in front of them. But here is what they look like when they are all in the cockpit. I'm going to try to get her straightened out a little bit. She's flopping around a little bit in there. We'll just say she's sitting in there correctly. But there are the figures in the cockpit. Give that a little click, set it over here, and now we're going to take a look at the Razor Crest. This is sure to get everyone excited. I think this one is probably going to sell very well, probably second to the Millennium Falcon. This one I think goes for $29.99 on Amazon, which is where I bought it. We've got the Din Djarin, Greef Karga, and Grogu figures here. It's interesting that they have him labeled as Din Djarin instead of the Mandalorian. It's a pretty simple sculpture. He does have his Beskar armor. He's got his little jetpack and cape, which are a separate piece. You have to take those off in order to get him to sit in the cockpit. Then we've got this Greef Karga. I think this is an interesting, there goes Grogu. I think this is an interesting choice for a figure to include with this. I would have expected to see IG-11, or maybe there's a few other characters that I probably would have expected to see in there before Greef, but maybe we'll get IG-11 on a speeder bike or something later on in the line. Let's take a look at the actual vehicle itself now. This one looks great. This does have a lot of wash on there, a lot of painted details with the yellow paneling on the side. It has a surprising amount of detail on the inside as well, really just like more than I expected. I thought this line was literally just going to be like one-piece statues that are cast from a single piece of plastic, and was really surprised to see how much, I guess, articulation and moving parts you can have here. There is the cockpit, needs a little bit of paint. It does have this little hole for Grogu to go in, so let's just see how that looks. My fingers are a little too big to have done it just on my own, so I used this little screwdriver to get him placed, but he does sit nicely on that peg there. It's a nice snug fit, and then Mando can fit right in the cockpit in front of him. There you go. There is your avatar, everyone. Just like the other vehicles in this line, you don't really see much through the cockpit window. Is it a... No, that doesn't open. So there's really no point to having the figures inside it on display. I guess you can see Mando's helmet a little bit, but I think you're better off just having him standing next to it if you want to show off the figures. He has this little ramp here that is on the back. I will say, at first I was having trouble opening a lot of these compartments and just really figuring out which was an actual compartment. Oh, there goes the Mithril in Carbonite. That is a very cool little addition there. Really beautiful sculpt. And then you can pop off the top of the Razor Crest, which is pretty cool, and it has all of this sculpted detail on the interior with that little hole for Grogu, Mando's jetpack and cape, and that fits nicely right there so you don't lose it when you've got him seated in the cockpit. There's also the little panel here for the Mithril and Carbonite to go and sit. I was having a little trouble getting him in there because of the angle, but the side panel pops off, giving you another view of the interior, and it is nicely sculpted as well. It has a little bit of detail on the inside. And I've said this a couple times already, but this is just really impressive for such a cheap toy line here. Like, just the way that everything works, the engineering on this is crazy. Oh yeah, it even has this side ramp here, as well as the one on the back, and it's got his full weapons rack sculpted in there. If you're crazy, you can go in and try to get a paintbrush in there and paint those black. But anyway, that is your review of the Jazzwares Micro Galaxy Squadron line. These are all available at the links that I have below in the description if you're interested in getting them. I think the most expensive one is the Millennium Falcon, which is $49.99. Razor Crest is $30, and then both of these smaller vehicles I think were $17. Let me know in the comments below if you will be picking these up or if you have already picked them up, and I'll see you next time.